It's illegal under the Logan Act for private citizens to engage in foreign policy that undercuts America. But this JD Vance, he is a...
JD Vance erupts as Jimmy Kimmel roasts him on live TV. But tension skyrocketed just when it seemed like a typical joke. What Vance did next left everyone stunned. Stay tuned. Kimmel's sharp wit takes aim at Vance Jimmy.
There's a lot of pressure on JD Vance tonight. JD Vance hasn't been under a microscope like this since his wife asked him why the couch was so sticky and told him just have fun. And you know what? It seems like he did.
I want to answer the question, but I want to actually give an introduction to myself a little bit because I recognize a lot of Americans don't know who either one of us are.
That's how you get the single cat ladies back on your side.
Kimmel approached the stage with the enthusiasm of someone who discovered a jackpot ticket, while his actual jackpot involved JD Vance's political change. His smile predicted the upcoming material would be entertaining, and he started his educational commentary without delay. Audience members could tell that Kimmel's performance would not deliver a soft criticism, but instead become a complete comedic destruction. The show began with Kimmel stating the single but impactful title, JD Vance. The speaker shook his head in disappointment before asking the audience if they had ever encountered someone who forbade sugar in their diet yet consumed 2 liters of Coke. That's this guy. The crowd erupted. The transformation of Vance was so ridiculous that it became the main focus of the discussion, rather than his shift in opinions. Trump's supporter status rose from 0 to 100% after Vance went from criticizing Trump to becoming his most ardent fan. Kimmel presented the political change as an identity meltdown which received widespread audience approval.
Before he made up the Haitians eating dogs story, he tweeted, "Trump makes people I care about afraid. Immigrants, Muslims, etc. Because of this, I find him reprehensible. God wants better of us." I agree with the statement you no longer agree with. Of course, he deleted those tweets once he realized he could be Trump's running mate.
Kimmel revealed the evidence through 2016 clips of Vance describing Trump as an embarrassment who frightened those around him. He followed this by showing Vance's current position as Trump's loyal follower who desperately follows his leader like a needy dog. The audience laughed because the comparison between present-day Vance and his 2016 footage was unbelievable. Kimmel conducted more than mere hypocrisy exposure because he illuminated it using neon paint while playing circus music.
At our show, we are nothing if not derivative, and we've come up with a QR code of our own. If you scan this code with the camera on your phone, it will take you to a website, iamavoter.com, where you can register to vote, and it goes to this page.
JD Vance's political flip-flop. The rapid shift of JD Vance from criticizing Donald Trump to supporting him was just as rapid as Kanye West's mood shifts after Kim divorced him. He strongly criticized Trump in 2016 by describing him as reprehensible, while predicting his presidency would bring destruction to America. Vance was a conservative leader who refused to compromise for political advantages.
I was wrong about Donald Trump.
In 2016, you called your running mate Donald Trump unfit for the nation's highest office, and you said he could be America's Hitler. I know you've been asked many times, and you've said you regret those comments in 2020. You're now his running mate, and you've shifted many of your policy stances to align with his. If you become vice president, why should Americans trust that you will give Donald Trump the advice he needs to hear?
A decade later, he stands precisely opposite his former position. The former Trump opponent has fully embraced the current administration and ignored all previous criticism he leveled against Trump. Many people now doubt if his former opposition to Trump was authentic, since his sudden shift has shocked the public. The irony? He has adopted the exact populism that he previously criticized.
Because I've always been open. And sometimes, of course, I've disagreed with the president, but I've also been extremely open about the fact that I was wrong about Donald Trump. I was wrong, first of all, because I believed some of the media stories that...
The evening show host took advantage of Vance's dramatic shift by comparing it to a horror sequel in which the main character flees from a monster in the original but later joins forces with it. The comment hurt because it had a factual foundation. Vance issued warnings about Trump's political control in the past, yet now he fully welcomes Trump's influence, which stands as one of the most puzzling political changes of recent times. JD Vance caught on a hot mic.
By the way, I think the speech is going to be great, but I don't know how you do this for 90 minutes. The hardest thing was doing it during Biden, when the speech was a stupid campaign speech. I didn't wear the same.
During a live broadcast, JD Vance's night turned downward because he accidentally exposed his skepticism about Trump's upcoming speech to the audience. His casual comment revealed his difficulty in enduring the upcoming 90-minute speech. The seemingly innocent remark became dangerous when Vance spoke to Trump because the president displays extreme sensitivity.
Well, we could have coordinated, I guess, but man, I gotta be honest with you. By the way, I think the speech is going to be great, but I don't.
The exchange between Vance and House Speaker Mike Johnson circulated rapidly, which exposed an uncomfortable situation for the vice presidential candidate. Johnson attempted to change the subject by mocking Biden's lengthy speeches, yet the situation remained unfavorable for him. Vance showed his mistake after diminishing the endurance of someone he had recently commended publicly for months.
The hardest thing was doing it during Biden, when the speech was a stupid campaign speech.
This situation seriously damaged the attempt to demonstrate complete loyalty. The public display of doubt towards Trump's speeches reflects a weakness in Vance's commitment, since Trump demands complete allegiance. Trump strongly dislikes those who fail to support his activities in full. The power dynamic between Trump and Vance.
Is there tension? Is it natural? And how do you kind of calm things down there?
Yeah, Laura, I don't think that there's tension. There's certainly disagreement from time to time. We're not going to agree on every single issue within an administration, but the president has been very clear.
Vance dedicates all his efforts to constantly defending Trump, but he shows minimal appreciation by giving him limited recognition. The unidirectional loyalty Vance shows Trump results in his appearance as a fervent supporter instead of an equal partner.
And obviously we appreciate what he's doing. Marco, I think, is doing an incredible job at Secretary of State. I had high expectations. I think he's actually exceeded those expectations. So the fact that you have a disagreement at a meeting, that does not mean that you have misalignment. It just means that you've got to talk about them.
Although Trump chose Vance as his vice president, he did not include him as a major contributor to his campaign. Trump consumes most of the public attention, continuously forcing Vance to demonstrate his significance. Through his indifferent attitude, Trump reveals that Vance functions as a convenient spokesperson rather than an equal partner.
Vice President JD Vance as your successor, the Republican nominee in 2028?
No, but he's very capable. I mean, I don't think that I think you have a lot of very capable people. So far, I think he's doing a fantastic job. It's too early. We're just... Right.
Kimmel exploited their unbalanced relationship by stating, JD Vance believes he belongs in Trump's inner circle, yet Trump treats him as someone who works at a coffee shop but fails to get the orders right. Trump continues to treat Vance as someone who delivers coffee orders while repeatedly making mistakes in his service. The joke struck a chord because it revealed the problematic reality that Vance views himself as necessary to Trump. Still, Trump does not share this same perception. JD Vance scrambles to defend himself. The politically damaging roast from Kimmel drove JD Vance to appear on conservative media outlets, where he portrayed Kimmel as an unhinged leftist and accused him of being responsible for America's political divide. Fox News took the comedic segment seriously by escalating it into a cultural conflict. But Vance's response backfired. He chose to discard Kimmel's main arguments by focusing on how late-night hosts create national divisions, even though his political shift had already driven away his core supporters. Kimmel naturally fired back. He smirked while explaining that making fun of a stand-up comedian was more absurd than dealing with corruption or insurrection. Vance tried to salvage his situation, but became increasingly frantic in his attempts, and thus proved once again how satire reveals the most profound, honest realities. Trump's meltdown. Over Kimmel's jokes.
I made this up, but you know how Trump likes to complain about how China's taking our jobs and raking us over the coals when it comes to trade, and he's going to hit them with tariffs so we can buy American? Well, guess where those God Bless the USA Bibles he's been selling are made? Right? In China. Trump is charging $59.99 for Chinese Bibles that say God Bless the USA on them. It's unbelievable. And products that were made in China. I will be presenting those to you tomorrow night. We did a little field trip and picked up a few things, but the audacity, the brazen hypocrisy, I know it shouldn't be shocking anymore. Somehow.
But the real kicker? Kimmel skillfully connected Trump's criticism to an underlying problem of his inability to accept criticism. Trump has proven throughout history that he responds with great anger when people laugh at him.
Ben Shapiro's podcast yesterday to tell Shapiro's listeners he isn't erratic. The erratic ones are Joe and Kamala.
But Kamala Harris has not invoked the 25th Amendment. Does she have a responsibility to...
Public reports indicate Trump lost his composure completely when Kimmel's segment was broadcast to the public. Multiple sources indicate that Trump became extremely angry because he believed late-night television was biased against him. Kimmel naturally couldn't resist responding. "I apologize, Don, but your actions are responsible for your bad appearance. You are responsible for the situation you created." The reality check for JD Vance history.
In some ways, you can't help but you kind of feel sympathy for JD Vance having to defend Donald Trump, who he himself openly denounced. It's kind of like being Diddy's defense attorney, you know? And
demonstrates that JD Vance mistook his support for Trump as a pathway to political success. Once they lose their usefulness, Trump forgets all those who pledged their loyalty to him. More like how Elon Musk treats ex-employees. Completely disposable the moment they stop being useful. JD Vance's absolute dedication to proving his loyalty might not be sufficient for keeping permanent status within Trump's network. According to Kimmel's final observation, JD Vance mistakenly believes he is a leading figure within this political movement. Trump views Vance as an acquaintance whose name he might recall if he requires someone to carry out his dry cleaning tasks. The crowd erupted with laughter because they had witnessed how this tale usually unfolds many times before. Public devotion does not assure Vance of Trump's favor. History suggests he will understand that his loyalty to loyalism does not ensure political longevity. The aftermath. What position does JD Vance stand following this event? History suggests that JD Vance will demonstrate his continued worth to Trump in the following weeks. He may need to remove more previously posted tweets from his account. A new batch of pro-Trump soundbites? Who knows? Kimmel's continued jokes about Vance will eventually force the political figure to question whether enduring jokes is worth the cost. And as for Trump, we should expect at least 12 Jimmy Kimmel is failing Truth Social posts from Trump throughout this week, based on his previous late-night joke reactions. Thanks for watching. Was Vance's reaction fair? Comment below, like, subscribe, and hit the bell for updates. See you next time.